Hello and welcome to Weapons and Warfare. For Straight Arrow News, I'm your host, Ryan Robertson. We have a little something different for you this week. With our first 27 episodes in the books, we thought it might be a good time to take a look back at some of our favorite Weapon of the Week features. And by we, I mean the rest of the Weapons and Warfare team. So let's make some introductions and go ahead and get to it.
We'll start with senior producer Brett Baker, as I always end the show. Brett Baker is the producer on the show. Ryan Spencer is our video editor, and Dakota Piteo is our graphics designer on the show. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves? Kind of, give the audience a quick 411 of your lives, but keep it broadcast tight.
No, I mean, obviously, I think probably the three of us are background guys because we like being background guys and putting everything together and all that. But I think this is going to be a fun opportunity for us to chop it up a little bit and maybe hopefully for our viewers to get to know the full team a little bit better.
All right. Ryan?
Brian Spencer, video editor, and about 25 years in broadcasting. And I get a real kick out of being part of this show because we get to decipher militaria and the world of political, geopolitical stuff for the viewers at home.
And Dakota.
Yep.
And who Dakota. Always makes our shows look better than they should.
Yep. I try and animate things the best of my ability every week, but I'm super into the tech behind some of this stuff and excited to see some of the stuff we cover.
All right, Dakota, we are going to start with your pick for this week's show. You're going with the AFRL's Paladin. Why this vehicle and why this weapon of choice for you?
Yeah, I think it's a crazy piece of technology, and I think drones are so becoming the forefront of both the military, think Ukraine, but also our personal lives. Delays in sports games are now becoming more and more. So, who doesn't love a shotgun attached to a drone that takes out other drones?
All right, let's roll that tape.
Meet the Paladin Multi-Mission Unmanned Aircraft System, essentially a drone interceptor. While there are all kinds of drones with all kinds of missions, the Paladin is still pretty unique. It's like Dalton from the 80s classic Roadhouse, except the Paladin is the bouncer of drones.
I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice.
This hex rotor watchdog is what the Air Force wants to make sure their manned aircraft systems don't run into any unexpected bogeys, especially in areas with large populations living around the base. Think Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas or Langley Air Force Base in Virginia.
We're not going after anything big, and generally everything's either commercial or it's assembled by hobbyists, operating, in the national airspace.
Described as a fully autonomous wingman, the Paladin comes equipped with a UAS detector and a loudspeaker for those occasions where a verbal warning will work. But it also has a little something when needed, a Benelli M4 shotgun. So the Paladin's pilot has a distinct advantage over stubborn intruders.
It's a net round that's very safe, and so employed in the air, it only has an effective range of about 20 meters. The system isn't just going to go out and shoot down a drone and it falls wherever. The system will go out, follow an aircraft, identify what it is. We'll try to mitigate in other ways, get over an area where there's no people below it, and then if we have to engage, we can engage in those safe areas where if it drops to the ground, it's not going to hurt anybody.
As for when the Paladin will be put to work on Air Force bases around the U.S., the AFRL says it's in late-stage development right now and will be going through an operational assessment during fiscal year 2025. After that, plans for delivery and implementation will be made.
All right, Dakota, that was the AFRL Paladin, your pick for the weapon of the week. It's one of those weapons. It's in development. It's not quite out there yet. But like you said at the beginning, who doesn't love a drone with a shotgun that shoots nets, right?
Exactly.
All right, let's go ahead and move along, folks, to the next pick for our weapon of the week. It's the MQ-25 Stingray. This is kind of a group favorite here at the show. Brian, this was your pick, this MQ-25. Why what stood out about the Stingray to you? Why was this your favorite weapon of the week so far?
Well, as far as drone and warfare goes, it's pretty easy to strap a missile to it and call it a day. So this one kind of shows some ingenuity, trying to solve a problem at the edge of the war space. And it's a tool, so it's purpose built to be a tool, reconnaissance, and to deliver an actual tangible thing to fighter jets to extend their range. So I really think that's, I think that's really cool that they're thinking outside of destruction for the drones, and it's designed and built in my hometown. So gotta love that part of it. But yeah, I just like the idea that not all drones have to be kill drones. They can be tools, whether it's a ground drone that carries injured soldiers out of the war zone, or the Stingray that can refuel a fighter on the go.
All right, well, with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the MQ-25 Stingray.
Meet the MQ-25 Stingray, a new aerial tanker. It's sleek, can carry a lot of gas, and it's unmanned. This is what the Navy hopes will help carrier air wings and carrier strike groups maximize their air power. Built by Boeing, the MQ-25 is the result of years of engineering and testing. The project was announced in April of 2018. Boeing released a video at the time. As you can tell, what was imagined and what was eventually built are two fairly similar looking aircraft. Less than 4 years later, the real version of the Stingray headed to sea for its first test aboard an aircraft carrier.
We're calling this the Unmanned Carrier Aviation Demonstration, to look at how the MQ operates on the flight deck, both for propulsion testing and our human factors evaluation. This is a historic moment for the Navy and for the Boeing company, because this is the first evaluation that we're making of this vehicle's ability to operate with the fleet.
Those tests must have gone reasonably well, because in February, Boeing handed over the first Stingray to the Navy for evaluation. More than just being a flying fuel can for the Navy's F-18s and F-35s, the MQ-25 is also expected to play a role in gathering intelligence, as well as conducting surveillance and reconnaissance missions. For the right to build the Stingray, Boeing beat out General Atomics and Lockheed Martin for an $805 million contract. Providing all goes well, the Navy's deal includes 4 more Stingrays for the fleet, with plans to equip all Nimitz and Ford-class carriers with the ability to operate MQ-25s.
All right, that was the MQ-25 Stingray from Boeing, built in your hometown, Brian. We're actually trying to get a tour lined up so that we can see the facility where it's being made. Hopefully it will be exciting enough that the dog behind you will, wake up and be, entertained by this story. But Brian, once again, thanks for your input, and also for the work that you do putting this stuff together. We'll go ahead and keep it moving right along here to Brett Baker, super producer Brett. Brett, when we saw your pick for the weapon of the week, we were at Soft Week in Tampa. I was had lost my voice, but I knew that this was something that was, super awesome. And I was like, we've got to figure out a way to do this. Your pick for weapon of the week is the Bounce Imaging Ball. Tell us why you picked that.
One of the things that I thought was really interesting was it was a simple, semi-simple solution to a big problem. Putting eyes on a place that guys may not easily be able to do that. One of the cool things was they had the idea for it, and it took them 4 years before they could actually make the technology and the idea work together. But I love that it's not just a camera. It's programmed so that it can talk to people in multiple different voices. It can communicate in addition to giving guys eyes on the scene where they may not be able to get eyes otherwise. I just think it's like a elegant solution to a real problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the Bounce Imaging Ball.
At first glance, you'd be forgiven for thinking this ball was just another toy from a toy box, but you'd be mistaken, because this ball contains some very serious tech.
These are 360-degree throwable cameras. They're used in law enforcement, search and rescue, and in the context this week, in special operations. And it's something that you can throw into an environment and get an instant 360-degree view of what's going on to many people so that you can have a better view of what's going on in that space.
Like all great ideas, a 360-degree throwable camera packed into a ball took some time to become a reality. Bounce Imaging started in 2012, but the technology needed to complete their vision needed some time to catch up. But when it did in 2016, it didn't take long for potential users to see what was possible.
What folks love about this is that you can take it out, turn it on, deploy it, view it on your video feed, understand it very quickly with a very low cognitive load.
To put it in even simpler terms, there's not a lot to think about when using it. That's why this hard rubber ball, equipped with 6 cameras and two-way radio, that's right, you can talk to people through it, has become an invaluable tool for police, search and rescue, and special forces operators. In fact, Bounce Imaging CEO, Francisco Aguilar, says their users are their best innovators.
That people have come up with really clever ways to use this to look over walls, down tunnels, inside attic spaces, around corners, in ways that they wouldn't have been able to do it with a much lower demand on their thinking than with other tools.
Another cool feature, it doesn't require any other equipment. That's because users can view images from the ball right on their smartphone. Just download the Bounce Viewer app and go.
We know it's making a difference, which we're super proud of, and we hope to get it out to more folks in the future.
One last thing, this very rugged camera is also multilingual. Mark Farguson told us the ball is preloaded with very simple commands in 20 different languages, meaning users not only have a clear picture, but they're breaking down barriers as well.
Brett, one of the things that I loved about that thing, the Bounce Imaging Ball, is we make mention of it in the story, but just to make it crystal clear for the audience, when you throw the ball, there's all these different cameras, and the ball is rolling through the room, but the software on it will orientate the video to be stable, essentially.
One constant shot.
Yeah, one constant shot, which I just think, and you alluded to it, it took 4 years to go from idea to reality. So just, way to stick to it, right?
One of the things that I always wonder when we go to these conferences and symposiums and exhibitions, you see a lot of products that are very similar. There is a very competitive marketplace to get into DoD contracts. And so I always think, what is this individual or this group, this unit doing to differentiate themselves? And in the tactical 360 ball, that's something I have not seen from anybody else, at least not in these environments. And I just thought that, these are some guys that are going and doing some out of the box thinking for a ball.
Absolutely. All right. And speaking of out of the box thinking, that kind of goes to my pick for weapon of the week. And we had a few non-weapons. Well, pretty much all of your guys's were non-weapons. I'm going to break that trend because I like stuff that blows up. Mine is the AFRL's mutant missile, and really it's what it is. And we'll play the story, but the front end of the missile moves so it can track its target, which in this era of great power competition where we know air defense systems are going to be huge, even if we're taking on the Houthi rebels, right, which is not necessarily great power, but they have these systems which are presenting a threat to us and our systems, so we need a way to counteract those things. And the mutant missile, in my mind, it's still being developed, but it's going to be one of those things that once it's in, it's probably going to be fielded sooner than later. Once it's out there, and Brett, you and I, we use the term game changer too much, but I really think this is going to be one of those game changing type systems. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the mutant missile.
When you hear the term mutant, you might think of a classic Hollywood B movie, or maybe my favorite Heroes in a Half Shell, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I love being a turtle!
But the Air Force Research Lab, or AFRL, wants to add a new definition to your mental Rolodex. Meet the mutant missile. On the surface, it looks like most any other missile, but you don't get the mutant moniker unless there's something a little different at work. That would be the Articulation Control Actuation System. To put it in layman's terms, the head and fins of the missile can move to meet the target. The inspiration for this application actually came from another aerial aficionado.
They noticed a really interesting thing when these falcons would intercept their prey. As the head moved, the tail would move. And there seemed to be a cause and effect relationship between head movement and tail movement. Apart from that, there's a target tracking, a target detection function of the head. And so this got us thinking, because falcons have the same objectives as missiles and interceptors: get the target and capture it.
Properly inspired, the AFRL engineers set about turning an idea into a reality. The missile on display at the recent AFA Warfare Symposium is the end result of years of work. The MUTANT, which is an acronym for Missile Utility Transformation via Articulated Nose Technology, is a weapon that can adjust for slight misses while in flight, helping to ensure when a punch is thrown, it hits the target, whatever that may be. As for how that punch is thrown, well, the engineers are still working on it.
We're exploring a broad target set. We're looking at offensive roles, we're looking at defensive roles, we're looking at surface launch functions. All of these kind of go into our figuring about the future instance of a system that may employ this technology to provide overall operational value to the warfighter.
The MUTANT is set for testing later this year with the Hellfire missile. As for when it might be ready for use in the real world, that, as they say, is TBD.
All right, so that was the mutant missile, and this has been the Quadfathers. Guys, thank you so much for joining today, joining the show live, really, live on this recording. Really appreciate, from me to you. I know that my face is the face on this thing every week, but this is absolutely a team effort. When I thank you guys at the end of every show, I honestly mean it. This show would not be possible without each of you doing what you do to the highest of abilities. So, Brett, Brian, Dakota, each of you, thank you so much for your work and for joining the show today.
That's going to do it for us this week here at Weapons and Warfare. If there's something you'd like to see featured as our weapon of the week, please let us know. You can email us at weaponsandwarfare@san.com. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and social feeds so you stay up to date on the latest from the world of weapons and warfare. For senior producer Brett Baker, video editor Brian Spencer, and graphics designer Dakota Piteo, I'm Ryan Robertson with Straight Arrow News, signing off.